We have an executive director who is running one of the most important Jewish organizations today in the world, especially facing the crisis in Ukraine. Tikva Orphanage in Odessa. Rabbi Rafal Krustel, please, first of all, update us on what's going on with hundreds of Jewish orphans in Odessa.
Hello, thank you very much, and thank you for listening, for coming on and hearing about Jews on the other side of the world who are now in a very difficult situation. At the moment, unfortunately, we're not in Odessa, so this is hopefully our final destination. We had to leave Odessa when the bombing started a few weeks ago, and a bomb landed about a half a mile from the girls' orphanage, and the girls were in trauma, and we decided we had to leave. And that's when we left, and we traveled right the way through Shabbat until we got, it was a very traumatic journey with sirens, and we saw smoke on either side, and every few miles we had to stop to check which roads were being bombed, and we also worried about both the roads being mined by the Ukrainians. Because they wanted to make sure that there wasn't going to be Russian progressing with their tanks. They didn't know at the time where the Russians were and how fast they were coming. It was a very dangerous and serious journey. And afterwards, we took out the kids, and the kids are now out of Ukraine. It took us a week to get everybody out. We got all the children with us, and you can see a picture in Romania behind me of the children who we managed to get out. This is only the children. We also have adults, and we took out the whole community. We relocated the whole community from Odessa to Romania, 927 people, and we're still taking out people the whole time to Moldova and to Romania. Every day we're calling people, and every time there's bombing, unfortunately more people need to come out, and there's no words to explain when you see a lady at the border with a bag in one hand and carrying a child on another hand, and for 15 hours or for many, many hours waiting in the freezing cold to cross the border, and you know that they only have in their hand enough stuff for one hand, because they know they had to carry the baby in the other hand, and the crying and the pain and the suffering which people went through. It's terrible. I mean, the feeling of being thrown out of your house for senseless bombing is so bad. It's terrible. One feels like a refugee. One feels like you've been thrown out. And we're lucky. We're extremely lucky. Our community. We were able to take everybody out, and it's a long process. It's an ongoing process. But with the bombing and the worry, and people have left behind families and parents and grandparents, it's a terrible time on one hand, and on the other hand, we see the huge miracle of community saved, and these children are in a safe place. But don't think that these children haven't been through trauma. When I ask the kids, suddenly kids start crying, and they missed, not stupid, but funny things. One person will tell you, I miss my neighbor, my annoying neighbor. Another person will tell you they miss basic things. I left my dog there, I left my cat there. It's there. There's so much pain, and it's terrible. Just yesterday, I had a call from somebody who told me that his grandmother had passed away because a bomb landed in the house in Mariupol. And they left the body outside, and they ran on a bus, and now they're asking us to help find the body and to bury it. And in the Jewish burial, there's so much pain and going on that it's really terrible on one hand. On the other hand, look, when I see a child smile, I know that it's a life saved.
I see the picture behind you, Romania, and I understand that you were actually evacuating children from Odessa to Moldova, and you were not able to find a place for children there.
So the first place which we went to, actually, there was two groups. There were the groups which were the easier group, which had all the papers which they needed to have in order to travel. And that's the first group which we sent to Moldova. And they stayed there for a few days, but Moldova is it's like, I'll give you an example. I said this to everybody. It's like preparing a meal in your house for 5 people, and suddenly 150 guests come. They run over. It's a one big mess. The people there who are working are doing unbelievable God's work, but it's impossible for them to be able to cope with the amount of refugees. The second group, which we were able to get out, went actually out from Western Ukraine. We went right to the top of Ukraine, next to the Carpathian Mountains, and those kids crossed the border there, and then back down to Romania, to Romania, which was a long trip. The Romanian government also helped us get the children in, and we're in touch with both governments in order to ensure the safety of these children. And but it's I say a few words about the complications and speak more about how these children are now in a safe place, which is the most important. But they've been really through hell.
Where the parents are?
So our orphanages, or our internats, as they call it in Russian, are split into a number of. It's basically very similar to a state orphanage. The way it's broken down, we're talking about children with from homes of abandoned, either kids who abandoned state orphanages, orphans. Abandoned, I mean, from birth. It could be for that in the hospital. The mother said, "I don't want to have," and it sounds so far-fetched, because a Jewish mother would say that. This is the question I've been getting for the last many years. Unfortunately, the answer is yes. You have mothers who are drunk. You have mothers who are on alcohol abuse. And we worked with the Ukrainian government as well, because there's no social system. We worked to take these kids to that we should be able to look after these kids. We have a license to take care of these kids. And when I asked, and then you have the kids who have no parents at all, and we are the guardians. And when I asked my person in Ukraine, where are the mothers? The same question as you asked me. He said, they are so drunk, or they're so hyped, or they're so involved in their own life. A lot of them haven't seen their kids for years and years and years. They even didn't think of coming out. They're oblivious to what's going on around, unfortunately. And we're looking after these kids. These aren't my kids. These are our kids, all of our kids.
Wow. So the plans after the war, Emir Hashem, God willing, that the peace will be reestablished in Ukraine, the goal is to return.
The goal is to return to Odessa. Odessa is a very, very beautiful city, a very special place, which we set up our community for many years. And we would like to go back there. That's our final destination. We also, these are Ukrainian children, the Jewish children, but the Ukrainian children, we have to take care, we have to bring them back to Ukraine by law. So that's what we intend to do. The people who stayed in Ukraine want to go back to Odessa. I think everybody who I meet around the world and they talk about Odessa, they have a soft spot. They say, Odessa Mama. They love Odessa, and therefore it's a beautiful place. We set up a beautiful community, and if we can go back, we will go back.
So even though the final destination of all of us, Klal Yisrael, Jewish people, is actually Yerushalayim, of course, but before Yerushalayim, these are citizens of Ukraine, and by law you're required to bring them back, and therefore going to Israel now would not be probably even like the best option, I understand, yeah, because then they need to make Aliyah, or you can bring them to Israel and return, or still Romania would be a better choice meanwhile.
We can't bring them to Israel at all. The way they came over the border enabled us to take them out and cross one border and to come in. And both the Romanian government were extremely helpful in ensuring that we we stay in Romania and they take care of us. And both the Ukrainian government is also well aware of where we are. In fact, I've received every single day, I've received phone calls. I'm surprised in time of war that they have time to think about this, but it's a large amount of children. and they want to know the children are safe, and they want to know that we intend to go back, and that is the plan. So Israel, unfortunately, at the moment is not something which we can even talk about or consider.
So you are talking basically to people of the Little Odessa, because right now I'm in Brooklyn, New York, a few minutes away from Brighton Beach, from our, RAGE, Russian American Jewish Experience headquarters. Many of our students actually come from the city, and they feel that they still connected to Odessa. Many of us very connected to Odessa. My grandfather actually personally graduated art school in Odessa, so I'm also kind of part of Odessan legacy. So my question is, of course, what can we do for you? What are your needs? What are your goals? And what can we do for you? Because I know that my students, my community, are urging to help your organization that is taking care of the orphans. So we are running a fundraising campaign asking people right now to help us. So can you please tell us what do you need the money for and what's the goal?
So there's a number of first of all, thank you for everybody, and anyone who's from Odessa. Everyone in Odessa always knows that I've never met somebody in Odessa who doesn't help another Odessa. So the people help each other. People are care for each other. Our goal, first of all, we're extremely worried about this weekend, what's going to happen. Intelligence which we have and the understanding is that the Russian goal may also be to try and take Mykolaiv and Odessa. It's very strategic for them, and therefore, they have to do it quickly because this is they're running out of time after the mass murder in Bucha and other places, and therefore we're extremely worried, and there could be another wave of evacuation. At the moment, we're taking our buses, and you can imagine the bus drivers, because of the sirens and because of the expenses and because they know how difficult it is, no one wants to drive, they're taking tremendous prices in order to get people out. So we're still evacuating people. We think it's a life-saving job. I always say my worst nightmare is the end of Schindler's List, when he looked at the gold button and he said, I could have saved another 2 Jews. And I do not want to ever be in that position that we feel, anyone feels, we could have saved more people by taking them out on time, and we didn't do it on time. So that's the goal, the life-saving goal, getting them out. Then placing them in the right places. I'm still bringing in people. I have another 100 places here in the facilities where I have. I took one facility, now I took another facility. I've opened the school here. It's a tremendous, it's much more than I could even imagine. Just to give you an idea, in the last 6 weeks, we spent over $7 million in evacuating, getting people across the border, right? I'm talking about the children, and securing the facilities here. And I've taken another facilities for another 4 months. It's amounts which would normally cover an organization for a year. And we had to, this has been the cost of evacuation. Of course, the costs are going to be much less. It's not going to be $7 million every month, but it's going to, but we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know in the next wave of evacuation. The people left with nothing. We have to help them with clothes, with food, with beds, with Pampers, with baby milk, with everything. They've lost their jobs. These are real refugees. And everything it entails to be a refugee. Psychological help. I brought over Russian psychologists to speak to people in order to help them. There's a huge amount of tension. No one knows what the future is going to bring. And we need funding for all of this. It's very, very simple. It's going to cost us millions of dollars to cover this, to look after. It's never been done before. The relocation of an entire community, I don't think it was even done in the Second World War. A relocation of 100%. We've taken the whole community who are very closely connected. We still have people left over. We still have Jews left over in Odessa. But all the people who connected the community, we managed to get out. And this is a miracle in its own right. And I thank Hashem every day for being able to be part of this. But now we have to look after them. We have to take them to the next step. I think we're part of history of what we're doing. By being in this position, by being in this place, everyone here who's watching this Zoom is part of history. To be able to save another Jew, to be able to help another person leave Ukraine, to hopefully, a lot of the elder people were sending to Israel. I took out a lady in an ambulance who gave birth in Odessa. The Brit was in Odessa, and then we took her out and we brought her here on Shabbat to Romania. There are lots of things going on. Every day there's life-saving stories going on, and our job is to try and save them. And I'm hoping that you'll partner with us and enable us and give us the funding in order to be able to help them.
When thank you so much for providing this opportunity for us, to all of us, the entire community in Little Odessa and Big Odessa and the large Jewish world, to actually to become one and saving each other. So I want to thank you. May Hashem give you the strength to continue and do your work. And I want to ask everybody who's with us, watching, listening, first of all, we should pray together, stay together, and contribute together. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I thank you for showing us and giving us the strength to continue, because we wouldn't be able to do without you and people like you who go out of their way to help us. Thank you.
And I also want to invite anybody in the very, very near future, when Ukraine will be totally peaceful, liberated, to visit this beautiful city that I remember from my childhood, and see this amazing, amazing organization, become part of it, help it, because there's a great and bright future for this wonderful community in Odessa. Thank you so much.
Thank you.